Hi, everyone who's joining. We'll be starting in a few minutes. Can you just send me a message in the chat to make sure you can hear me? Kaylin, I see you there. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Kaylin, can I ask you one more technical question? I'm sharing my screen right now. What are you seeing? Are you seeing the Zoom or are you seeing the study abroad, the slide?
I'm seeing the study abroad, but it's like not in presentation mode yet.
It's not what?
In presentation mode yet?
Oh, okay, that's great. At least you can see that. Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Okay, so we're gonna start. Thanks to everyone for coming today. Sorry, my voice is a little bit, sounds terrible. It's the time of season. And I promise it's not because I was out doing something fun last night. It's legitimately because my daughter got me sick. Welcome to the GDST Study Abroad. We're happy to have you all here today. This is our information session, and both of the programs, either Trent in Bolivia or Trent in Ghana, then have a like an orientation session once you're accepted into the program. So today it's just sort of like an overview of what the programs offer, and then we have some. So Paul and I will do that. Paul, Martin, and I will do that, and then we have students from Trent in Ghana and Trent in Bolivia to talk to you guys a little bit more about what it's like to go, which I think is more interesting for everybody. So Paul and I and Martin will try to get through this as fast as possible, so that you can actually hear from the people you care about, which are the students. And if you have any questions, go ahead and you can sort of let us know. If you're online and you have questions, if you can send a message in the chat. Paul's going to be keeping an eye on the chat while we are in this, so you can throw your hand up or send a message in the chat and we'll get to your question as they roll on through. Okay, so just a quick check. Everybody online can hear me? Great. Okay, thanks for nodding, Kaylin. Okay, so we're going to start with Trent, Bolivia. So we have Martin Boyne here. Martin Boyne and I are the directors of the program. It is the second year of this program in particular. Prior to Trent, Bolivia, we had a several decade-long program in Ecuador, but we switched last year, and the first round of students that came back in April are here today to talk about how that went. But it's kind of a unique program, and we'll talk to you a little bit about why that is. So it's a semester abroad. So you leave in January and you come back in April. And it's a partnership with the San Francisco de Javier Public University in Sucre, which is the capital of Bolivia. I think that and this is Bolivia from Bolivia. Ollie is also Bolivian. So this is Bolivia. And so you go to Sucre, and there is a language immersion component to this study abroad, which is what makes it sort of unique. Martin's going to talk about that a little bit. You stay with a family, so there's a homestay, and you do some pretty cool field trips that are linked directly to your coursework while you're there. So while you're there, you are enrolled at Trent. You get Trent credits for going and studying in Bolivia, which are the equivalent of 2.5 academic credits, or like a full semester if you were taking a full course. And so you have a year-long equivalent of what's called the Bolivian seminar, and that's like a normal class that you would take in global development studies. And basically it's a 2-module course with 2 professors that are teaching on indigenous movements, gender and Bolivian feminisms, and natural resource development. So if you're interested in, for example, the energy transition and lithium, then you would get a sort of deep dive in that. If you're interested in sort of how the first indigenous president in the world came into power, Bolivia, then you would take that seminar. You're going to learn a lot about all those historical and contemporary processes. And then there's a really great field course, which is an intensive practical course. So it is really about learning how to do qualitative methods. And most of that, you learn in the classroom, but you also learn a lot in the field. And I'm sure the students are going to talk about that because it's a real highlight of this program. And then you get the equivalent of Spanish 2500 Y, which is Martin. Sure.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Martin Boyne. I'm the languages and linguistics coordinator. So I look after the language side of the Trent and Bolivia program. As Kirsten said, we have a full credit course in Spanish that you take, and the benefit of taking a course in a Spanish-speaking country is, of course, that you have that immersion, which is fantastic, and the students will be able to talk about the benefits of that when they speak to you. Some of you maybe, if you're interested in the Bolivia program, you might be thinking, what kind of Spanish background do I need? If you have, the more the better, but of course, if you only have first year, maybe the first half of the first year, that is okay too. Our instructor in Bolivia is a fantastic instructor. I think people would agree, and she is very well able to teach a multi-level class. And so if you have a lot of Spanish, if you have a little Spanish, it works both ways. So she'll get you up to a particular level, and she'll also take you out in the community and let you use Spanish actually in Sucre, which is just as good, if not better, than being in the classroom. And you actually learn how to communicate with people in the Spanish language. So I'll stop there. It's obviously a better course if you're taking it in Bolivia than if you were taking it here. And it really serves as a good complement to the GDST courses that you're taking as well.
And of course, Spanish is one of the most spoken languages in the world today, right? And so it is kind of a good to have on your CV and a good opportunity to actually get to near fluency or at least conversational Spanish. Like Martin said, it's a little bit of a challenge if you're taking other courses and you're not practicing, right? Just like any other language. And so your prerequisites, Martin just touched on the Spanish prerequisites. But basically you have to be enrolled as a current student in good standing. Typically we accept students from 3rd and 4th year into the program. There has in the past been an exception for a 2nd year student. Sometimes students have taken Trent in Ghana and then gone to Trent in Ecuador and then done another. So you can actually sort of line up so that you never ever spend any time in Peterborough. And we do have many students who have done that. But basically from our side, you need, it's actually now called GDST 1001 or HURI 1001, which will qualify as the prerequisites, right? But if you don't have those, for this year, you can still apply. We just want to make sure that you're not going to, you're going to succeed in your classes there. So we want to make sure your foundation is solid enough for you to be able to take the Bolivian basically. And then finally, and this is probably the most important because the Trent in Bolivia leaves very soon. You'll notice it's a January 3rd travel date. It's a winter semester departure, which is great because it's warm there and cold here. But the timeline is basically today. The application system is open, so you can, if you're a student that's not in a Trent, then you can apply through the website. If you're here at Trent, you can apply through My Trent. The applications will be due on October 9th, and then we'll have the orientation shortly after in November. We will be reviewing applications that week following Thanksgiving, so you'll know pretty much right away and can take Thanksgiving to convince your parents as to it's a great opportunity for you to do a study abroad in Bolivia. And then finally, and I think maybe this is important for those of you who are thinking of going this year, and so the financial aspect is always really important. It's a $3,500 program fee. So you enroll, you pay your tuition, and then you pay a program fee. And with just like in the Trent Ghana, there are sort of bursaries and scholarships available for students that are doing the study abroad. But especially right this year, we got a big chunk of provincial funding because this is a new program, and that funding is available to use this year. And so last year, for example, students that went had that program fee waived. And so it's a really good year, especially this year to go, because that program fee will most likely be completely waived or almost waived depending on how many students apply. And we have to use that money this year or we lose it. So if you have, if you're looking for, if you're worried about finances, it's, come and talk to us, but there's lots of options to get bursaries and grants. And your cost of living once you're there is substantially lower than what you pay here in Peterborough. Okay. So maybe that's that for now. I think we'll do questions after, right, Paul? Yeah. So I'll let Paul do the Trent and Ghana. There's no questions in the chat, right? Maybe we can hold those until the end if you have any. And I'll pass it off to Paul. Okay. Thanks, Ollie. That's what you think about me. Okay. And then I'll get you set up. I just have to make sure they can actually see it. There, right there. Okay.
Okay, got it?
Yeah, and do you prefer to look at this screen or do you prefer to look at the Zoom screen? This one?
Okay, sure. Yeah, we can pick it up there. Okay, so thank you so much, Kirsten, and hello everybody, and welcome. So I'm Paul Schaefer, and I direct the Trent and Ghana program, and my remarks are going to be brief. So I'm glad to be able to defer to Taylor and Keeley, who are two former students who will give you more information about the program, and it'll be more interesting, I promise you, than me. And also Ella and Lauren, who will do the same with respect to Trent and Bolivia. And also, although those of you on Zoom can't see, but Dana, who runs our department and also our programs, is here as well. So let me just make a few brief comments about Trent and Ghana before deferring to the students, and following a similar format as Kirsten. Okay, so the program was founded over 25 years ago. Hi, Ollie. Hi, Phoebe. Now, so it's been around for quite some time. And there's really three core aspects of the program. And so the first is there's this attempt to integrate both in-class learning, in-class instruction, and experiential learning. And the latter takes a number of forms, the fact that you're there living in another context, but also there's the option to do a 3-month placement with a development organization if you spend the year. Second, it's an intense cross-cultural immersion. So you're living with a homestay family and you're living for an extended period. And then lastly, as I said, there's either a semester or a full year option, and it's completely integrated into the development studies curriculum. So you're taking all Trent University courses. Okay, so in terms of partners, we've had these long-standing partners in Ghana, and the key partner is the University of Cape Coast in the south, where you spend a couple of months. Then subsequent, in Tamale in the north, we have this long-standing partnership with Vinceremos Development, which is run by our long-standing collaborator, Coleman Aguayomo, who the students will say a word about. And then we have others on the ground, a program manager and a program assistant, who are there to support students throughout the year. Okay, so once again, as Kirsten said, if I put on my academic hat and say a few things, I think the biggest thing you get from studying abroad is that you see firsthand all the things we talk about in class, all the things we read about actually played out before your eyes. So in real time, you're experiencing stuff which at Trent, you only read about. And I could give an extended lecture on all these things, but let me just list off a few of these topics that you're going to see, or that you can see when you're abroad. So issues of gender, ethnicity, urbanization, migration, climate crisis, inequality, poverty, agrarian change, food, mining, which is a huge issue now, aid, debt, IMF, World Bank, etc., etc., etc. So there's a ton of issues really that you're able to probe in a very, very deep way while you're there. So it's just a fantastic learning opportunity. Hi, Ollie. Hi, dear. And but just to be emphatic, and I think this is exactly the same for Kirsten's program, you're not doing development. This is not about doing development at all. It's learning. This is a learning opportunity for you. So with respect to requirements, you've got to have the first year GDST courses, and in most cases, second year. Okay, unless there's a compelling reason otherwise, and we're glad to discuss. Typically, it's students who have either a major or a joint major in development studies, but students in related fields are welcome. So anthropology, sociology, sometimes business students have been interested, ERS, and so on. Typically, it's third or fourth year students who did this, and if you do it in fourth year, you can upgrade some of your courses to fourth year level courses. In our case, the application deadline isn't for a while. It's not till end of January, as you wouldn't leave until the fall term 2025. Okay, so finance it's similar to what Kirsten said. Typically, all in all, most people say that your overall year costs you roughly the same as what you would pay in Peterborough if you weren't working. Okay, so if you had to pay rent in Peterborough and you didn't have income, it's broadly the same depending on how much you spend while you're there. And throughout the years, Trent International has been relatively generous with respect to bursaries. I can't promise that every single person will get, though this year's group, every single person got a significant amount. But nevertheless, there is financial assistance available. And so just to conclude, before we defer to our students, I think there's a number of reasons why this is a great opportunity, at least to study abroad over the course of an undergrad. And one is that, as I said, you can't learn in the same way behind a desk and in front of a book in Peterborough, right? You just don't get it in the same way. Secondly, for more instrumental reasons, for MAs or jobs, you're put in a different category. And we hear that again and again and again and again from our graduates. It really does make a big time difference. And then lastly, you build lifelong friendships, as I think our students will attest. Okay, so that having been said, my comments are brief. I will stop. And I think we're glad to defer to Ella and Laura. Thank you. Oh.
To show more slides or just to answer?
No, I want you to show your slides. You have just want to make sure I'm picking the right one. This, no? Right there, right? Okay, thanks. Thank you, Ella. And Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, hello to the Zoom people too. So I'm Ella Rowe and this is...
I'm Lauren Morrison.
And we both just came back from Trent, Bolivia. So we both came back in April and we're going to show you some of our adventures and good times and talk about the strengths of the program and what we really enjoyed. So I thought this first picture that we put up was pretty silly. That's all of us. But I think it really shows like how close you get with the people that you went. I didn't know everyone before I went, but by the time I came back, I was like, I can't live without these people, and most of them have moved on and graduated, so that's been really hard to say goodbye to them.
Before you move on, this photo was actually taken. Ella's host parents invited us over for a barbecue and fed us so much food. And so just the connection you get to the host family, not even just your own host family, but I miss Ella's host parents as much as I miss mine.
Yeah, and so that's why we have the host families as the second slide. So I just feel like you can't even put into words how close you become with your host families. So we've got a shout out to Lola, the 16-year-old cat I lived with in Bolivia, but that's me and Emily from Trent as well with our host parents, Jimena and Hugo. And they were just the most welcoming, most gracious, lovely hosts in the world. So they cooked us our breakfast and our lunch. In Bolivia, they don't typically do dinner, but your host family may if they do. But we just did our breakfast and lunch, so every day we got to hang out and eat together. And Hugo has his barbecue down there. He's a very big fan of his barbecue, so he made us so much food all the time. And I feel like that is just one of the biggest strengths of the program, is that you get so close with the people you stay with and you miss them. Like, she texted me for my birthday, and I texted her on the first day of school, and we video chatted. So you really, I think you don't think you're gonna love your host family as much as you do, and then you meet them and you're like, okay, like you can't take away from it.
Yeah. For me and my host family, every Sunday, my roommate Serena and I would we would make them lunch. So for most of the week, they would make us lunch, and on Sundays we would try and think of something that's kind of typically Canadian that we can make for them, or something that they wouldn't typically have. And they loved pancakes. Oh my gosh, every week my host dad would be, so are you guys gonna make pancakes? And so that was a really great way to share kind of where we come from. And yeah, my other favorite memory was my host family's children had very young kids. And we were there during Carnival, and so they took us and we filled up water balloons and got espuma, which is like this foam spray, and stood at the side of the road and threw water balloons at people passing by and basically terrorized the neighborhood. And we had like kids trying to get us back, and it was terrifying and awesome. And that's what I miss.
Those are them on top of Reese, right?
This is them.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and then so the next point we wanted to bring up was the field trips and experiential learning. So this is us in Peasley. Thank you to Lauren for all these photos. That's basically her Instagram post. But I wanted to just show you what we kind of got to do there. So the pictures really don't do it justice. It's a really small remote village beside Tarapuco, which is like kind of a bigger town. And we went out in a bus like on these crazy roads, and it was an adventure to get there. But once we were there, it's just the most breathtaking place you've ever been. And this was for our methodologies course, so we stayed with families out in Peasley for around a week. We made food with them, we hung out in the fields and stuff, and we also got to go to the local schools and talk with the children. And this was when we came back, we ended up writing like a methodological like project on it. But I just want to show that you get to learn so much outside of the classroom as well as in it. So we were here for a week, and it might have felt like a little vacation from our in-class school, but we definitely learned a lot by talking to people, interacting with them, getting to share their spaces, and just experience a different way of life.
For me, this is definitely my favorite part of the trip. I think for a lot of people, going to Peasley and just seeing the rural life that exists in Bolivia was really one of the most powerful moments. I mean, other than the fact that it was amazing and all this stuff, I'm using it right now to help apply to like teacher education streams, as we got to go into classrooms, and so I'm going to use that experience to make my resume a little stronger. Yeah.
So we have more fun field trip highlights. So this is predominantly pictures from Potosi, which is a mining town in Bolivia. So we got to go into the mines and explore them with our local guide, who Kristen set up for us, and we got to take very silly pictures and everything. But also what you learn in these moments is about extractivism and like what that's doing to our environment, what that does to people. And Paul and Kristen are really right. You don't understand what you're learning about from a book until you see it and you see the mines and you see like really old people working their lives away. Like there was this one guy and he was in there all by himself and he was in there all day. And it was difficult, but it was also like just very good for the learning aspects of things. And obviously we had a silly fun time too.
What you gain from getting the in-field experience really, even not even just in Bolivia, but now that I'm back and I'm taking classes and I'm doing the longest readings in the world, the readings are coming to life for me, where I read them and I see Bolivia and I see the mines and I see the people that grow coca, and I understand the world so much better, and I understand the theories that the professors are talking about so much better because of these experiences.
And then the last one is our trip to Uyuni, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about before. They're the Bolivian salt flats, and they look like a mirror, so you can make lots of fun illusions. But we got to spend, how many nights? 2 nights? I'm not sure. A couple nights in Uyuni exploring the salt flats and the people and the culture there. So that was kind of with our trip to Potosi. We went to Potosi and then we went over to Uyuni. And this is Franz in the picture with Julia. He was one of our profs. I'm not sure if he would be one of the profs for next year, but he wanted to take us on the trip again. And he was amazing. So he specializes in mining and extraction. So we learned a lot from him throughout that trip. And like Lauren says, it really comes alive. There's no really good way to explain like what going and seeing the world and seeing different people and lives does to you. I think I always think it's a little silly when people come back and they say, oh, this changed my life or this changed my perspective. And I'm like, okay, but did it? And after going, I'm going to tone the skepticism down because it really, really does. You just can't put it into words, really.
Yeah. Like, friends, the connection we made with the profs was like nothing else. They were so kind and helpful, and one of our profs, when some of the parents came and visited, would be like, oh, I'll take your mom and I'll show her around town and she can come hang out at my house. And yeah, and one thing that we don't have any photos of is, like I said, while we're here, Carnival's happening, and so we got to go to Oruro, I can never say it right, and experience the big Carnival that happens in Bolivia, and that was a really interesting look into the culture that you don't get to see, or like that you have to be there to understand and to experience.
So if you keep an eye on the Trent Bolivia Instagram, we have lots of location spotlights coming up. We posted one today. You guys can go take a peek at Sucre and some of our favorite spots in Sucre, which is where the Trent Bolivia program predominantly takes place. But yeah, overall reflections, like you definitely get out of it what you put into it. So if you go in with like an open mind and you're excited for learning, you're going to come out with so many benefits and so many friends and so many just connections around the world. So yeah.
And your Spanish?
Oh yes. Sorry. Okay, so you do take the Spanish module while you're there. I went in speaking English and French and like no Spanish. And I lived with Jimena and Hugo, and both of them were constitutional lawyers. And by the time I left, I felt like Jimena would tell me all about her job and her lawyering things with her big law terms, and I'd be like, what's going on there? But by the time I left, I felt like I could definitely understand her, and I was conversational back with her. I think obviously, like if you put more into Spanish, you're going to get more out of it. But the Spanish like module was amazing. Miriam's amazing. She takes you around to talk to different people. We went to the market with her. That's where some of our market pictures are from, and just got to practice the Spanish outside of the classroom. Which for anyone who's learned the language, you know that it's really, really valuable to be able to talk with native speakers of the language, which you might not find so much at Trent. Especially with the homestay, you are kind of forced to speak a lot of Spanish. Like my host mom, if Emily and I spoke in English, she'd be like, you're not doing that, because she wanted to be included in the conversation, but obviously also she was very helpful in helping us learn. But yeah, everyone there wants you to succeed, and I feel like Spanish in general, people are really excited when you try and speak Spanish, whereas French, they're like, stop speaking our language. So Spanish is a really, really good thing to learn, and obviously a lot of people speak it globally.
It also opens up a whole world for you afterwards. Even if you can understand a little bit of it, there's like so much more culture, music, movies, even traveling opens up your ability. I mean, after after the course was over, I stayed in Bolivia for about 2 weeks and just did some traveling with my roommate. And we were able to talk to the people and figure out where to go. And so your confidence, I think, as a person, your confidence with having another language where just the world opens up to you just that much more. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Are there any questions now or
Yeah, that's a good question for this year. Well,
I don't see anything in the Zoom, but anything from the room? Questions about Bolivia?
Okay.
That's totally fair. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You don't know how to do this better than I do.
You want to do the slide first? Where is the Zoom? Where is it?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Shouldn't have the screen share.
I was already screen sharing. Kaylin, can you see the presentation? You can still see it?
Yes.
Hi everyone, my name is Keely,
My name is Taylor.
and we participated in the Trent and Ghana program in the years of 2022 to 2023. And right now, the people you see on the screen are actually in Ghana as we are speaking.
Yes, this is the current group that's there.
Yeah, so that's them at the airport on their way over this year. They all got scarves this year, so that's very cool. And we'll just be talking a bit about our time there.
So a brief overview of the presentation. We're going to start with Ghanaian culture, specifically fashion, music, and food. And we'll talk about Cape Coast, so like the university in Cape Coast, which you'll be attending, as well as life in Cape Coast, like social life. And then we'll talk about the second part of the first semester, which is the stay in Tamale, which is about a month. So we'll talk about accommodation there, as well as school and social life there. And then we'll discuss placements, which is the second semester of the trip, for those who choose to stay for the full year. And then we'll do Q&A or some discussion. To discuss the geographical location of Ghana, Ghana is a West African country. It is located in between Togo, Burkina Faso to the north, and then Cote d'Ivoire. It has two climates there, so there's two kind of like different climates in Ghana. There's the dry Sahara climate in the north, as well as like the humid, more rainforest coastal climate in the south. And so this is a breakdown of Ghana. This is a map of Ghana and its regions. So regions, provinces. You will start in Accra, which is where you'll land, the Greater Accra region. And then you will make your way to Central region, which is Cape Coast, is right down there, which is where you'll spend the first 2 months. And then you'll fly up to the northern region, Tamale, which is in the northern region. And for placement, the second half, really you can go anywhere around the country as long as it's approved by the TIG program, which most are. So there is the internship opportunities are truly all over. And if you find a region that you're interested in, that can dictate where you do your placement.
So something that's really cool about Ghana is that they have a lot of their own like African fabrics that they make their own clothes with. The shirt I'm actually wearing right now is a shirt that I got made in Ghana, which is super cool. One of the first things my host mom did was bring me to a seamstress, which was awesome. We were told going by past students like not to pack a lot of clothes because we get a lot of clothes made, and it was very, very true. I threw out most of the clothes I brought anyways, and I only brought back the clothes I got made there. And it's awesome because I've never looked better going to class in my life. It's honestly true. Like here I'll wear like sweatpants and like my pajamas, but going to class in Ghana, I was like decked out in like this most like the most glamorous dress that you've ever seen in your life. And it's the same, like a lot of people there, like when they go to church and stuff, like you're truly going to a fashion show. And it's just a really cool thing that they do. And it's really fun because all of the money goes back to like the seamstresses and stuff. So like, you know, I'm a fan of like
Local business.
yeah, local businesses and, you know, sustainable fashion. So
Yeah.
I loved this part of Ghana. And something cool too, just to mention, is that like, depending on where you are in Ghana, the fabrics tend to change. In the picture, where all the fabrics are on the right are all actually northern fabrics that are made up north. And the picture where our two friends are having a little photo shoot, those are all more southern fabrics, and you can kind of tell the difference because the northern fabrics are kind of softer in like patterns, softer patterns, and these ones have more like harsh lines on their patterns, and that's just something cool about it. And something else that's really fun about Ghana is the music that they have there. So these are all Ghanaian artists, and everyone on our trip saw at least one of these people in person, fun fact. So there's Black Sheriff, who does reggae and hip hop, Jackie, who does Afropop, R&B soul, and Sarkodie, who does Afrobeats and rap. So a lot of us actually saw Jackie and Sarkodie. We were lucky enough that the
Global Citizenship Festival.
the Global Citizenship Festival, which is an international organization, they host a music festival every year, and it just happened to be in Accra while we were there, and we were in Accra that weekend. So we bought tickets, and we saw them perform live, and that was incredible. And then Black Sheriff, I actually discovered when I was in the Volta region, my taxi driver listened to his entire playlist on this like hour-long drive that we had, and I was like, who is this? This is awesome. And the two girls you saw in the previous thing, they actually ran into Black Sheriff at the local mall. Yeah, they called me. They're like, you're not going to believe what happened. They're like, we just saw Black Sheriff. I was like, oh my God, it was awesome. And with that, we were actually going to show you guys just a little bit of his music video just to get like a taste for the Afrobeats. So that's just a little bit of what kind of music he makes and a lot of the music that's around there. It's super fun. One of my friends from the program actually had an event recently held in Kingston that was like an Afrobeats vintage shop that she hosted with some of her friends. And they played all Afrobeats the whole night, and the nostalgia was like a wave. It was awesome. Yeah, so that's just some music that they listen to.
So food was very, very important to us in Ghana. We loved the food there. It was truly amazing. We have some examples of some foods that particularly our group were really big fans of. So first you'll see fufu with like soup and goat meat. So fufu is like, I believe it's cassava that's pounded into a dough. And then you just have these like dough balls, and then you rip off pieces, dip them in your soup. It's usually served with meat as well if you eat meat. And our go-to is goat meat. We loved goat meat when we were there. And it's very filling, fufu and light soup. I honestly had trouble finishing 2 balls of fufu because they were
trouble finishing 1 ball.
Yeah, they were very filling. So it was a great meal to eat before a big day. And then we have red and fried plantain here. So we ate a lot of this too, just basically fried plantain and beans with some spices, and it's a vegan dish. So for any of those with dietary restrictions, this one's for you. And but everybody will love it. It's delicious. It's like sweet and savory. And then we kind of just put street food there. We ate a lot of street food, a lot of street meats. The street meat was amazing as well. It would be grilled right there on the street. Kebabs here was one of our favorites. And, we would be out drinking and dancing on a weekend, on a Friday night, and then getting some street kebabs after was the best. So now I'm going to discuss a little bit about Cape Coast. So Cape Coast, as I said, is where you spend the first 2 months of the trip. Yeah, so here we've kind of put examples of some like notable areas in Cape Coast that you'll probably get to know when you're there. Kingsway is the one on the far left there. Kingsway is kind of like the main strip of Cape Coast. The Malcolm is on the end of that street, which is a store like Walmart where you'll do grocery shopping. And it'll also take you down to like the beach and the resorts down there. Kakum is a rainforest in central region that we went to. We planned a trip up to the rainforest. So yeah, if you want to do a trip there, you'll have to plan it, but the coordinators will help you. But yeah, this trip was honestly great. It was just a canopy walk about, I would say at the highest, about 50 feet in the air through the rainforest trees. And it was really fun. We got a lot of great pictures from that.
They also have elephants there.
In Kakum.
Like, yeah, they do. We didn't see them there. Remember the nighttime tour we could do?
Oh yeah, they had an option to like camp out overnight there and then like watch wildlife. But I didn't know
There was elephants there. Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. But yeah, it was really amazing just being in the lush, walking through the tops of the lush rainforest. And then beaches. There's lots of beaches in Cape Coast. You'll probably spend a lot of time there. We'll discuss Oasis Resort in a bit. But yeah, the beaches they're beautiful, and there are lots of beachside bars and all that. So it's a great spot to unwind.
So for the course load for the first 2 months while you're in Cape Coast, you take 3 courses. You have the fancy language course, Society, Culture, and Development in Africa, and the Ghana seminar. So fancy is a local dialect. It's the main one in the Cape Coast area. The main language that's spoken in Ghana is English, but there's over 50 dialects. So you take this course for the first 2 weeks, and your days typically start around 8:30, and they'll end around 4 while you're taking your fancy course. And it will end with a oral exam, a listening exam, and a speaking exam. And we just put some basics of fancy sayings and words. So thank you is medasi. Good morning is namoache. And yeah, you'll learn so much more. Like elephant is oson, oson, I believe. Snake is kitsu. Wait, is that? No, that's lizard. Lizard is kitsu. But yeah, you learn a lot while you're there.
And this is also the school that you'll be attending, that building. That's actually me you can see my black hair sticking out. That's the School of Development Studies in UCC. That's where you'll be doing all your classes while you're in Cape Coast.
And then one of the first field trips that you go on is to Cape Coast Castle. So Cape Coast Castle was one of the first slave castles that was built in West Africa. And it is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So I think this year they went on the very first day of classes. I don't remember if we went on the first day, but it was within the first week that we went there. Yeah. It's a really great educational experience. It's obviously really difficult in general because it's about the slave trade, which is not
a happy part of history.
It's not a good, it's very, it can be a very overwhelming field trip, but it is very important, I think, that we have the field trip and to like learn the history of where we're at and just like to educate ourselves. And we also, for the other 2 courses, there's the Society, Culture, Development in Africa and the Ghana seminar, which every week the topic kind of changes. Like 1 week will be conflict, another week will be
gender relations,
gender issues. Another week would be environment. Another week would be like economics. And it's the same for each class. Just one class goes through the topic on like the whole of Africa it will look at, and the other class will look at it through like the Ghanaian perspective and more in like a Ghanaian context. And with that, we had 2 small essays that were due, 2 large essays that were due, and an exam in both classes.
Yeah. And all the classes, the fancy and the 2 other ones you'll be doing simultaneously. The fancy is the first 2 weeks of the courses, I believe, or the first 2 weeks of school, and then after that, it's just the 2 main courses.
And while you're in Cape Coast, you'll be staying with host families. So these are 2 host families from our year. That's Gabby and Harper's host family on the right, and then on the left is me and my roommate Michaela's host family. So our host mom was Mrs. Alberta, and our host dad was Mr. Emmanuel, and they had an ever-growing family. I started, I think, with like 3 host siblings, and I think I ended with like 7, because I just have cousins who would come and live with them, and people who like lived in town. And it was honestly absolutely incredible. They were so welcoming. They'd make us breakfast and dinner. And like I said, one of the first things my host mom did was bring us to like a seamstress to get something made for us. And one of the first things my host brother did was there's a festival that happens within the first week that you'd be in Ghana. It's Orange Festival. And he brought me and my roommate out there just to kind of like show us like it was like literally the third day we were there or something, and it's like this huge festival, and everyone's wearing orange and like walking down this one street. And yeah, Kingsway.
Yeah, it was Kingsway that
It
they were
was,
walking
yeah.
down.
And it's just it was a really cool experience, and I still talk to them via WhatsApp and Instagram, and I see how they're doing and stuff. So it's really, really special, like the connection that you'll make with your host family.
So yeah, now I'm going to discuss a little bit of local life. This is local life in Cape Coast, by the way. So there are a lot of beaches and like kind of like beach coastal resorts in Cape Coast. The Breeze is one of the ones that I actually never went there, which is surprising now that I think back on it. But it was kind of like a beachside or bar, I would say. And then Oasis, which I was at very frequently, is like a beachside resort. So there's rooms there that you can lodge if you need to, if you're coming to Cape Coast just for a couple days. But they have great food. They have great Ghanaian food as well as like more foreign foods like, pastas and pizzas. So, if you wanted something maybe with more familiarity, you could get it there. And yeah, the beach is great. The drinks are great. And I found it a really great spot to do homework. Looking out over the water, just with my laptop out, it was really amazing. And then you can see me there studying on the far left. That's a Baobab House, which is it's like a vegan restaurant in Cape Coast, but also like they sell fabrics. They really focus on sustainable production, sustainable agriculture and sustainable textile production. So yeah, they were a great spot they had free Wi-Fi and a great spot to do homework. They had great smoothies and vegan food. So and we had 2 students who did their placement there as well.
It's an NGO, and they have a school that operates to teach for children who are unable to access the typical Ghanaian education system, and they teach a lot of like indigenous courses and like indigenous knowledge about like farming and production, which is all of the food that they make at the house is actually made by what they have farmed at the school. And they also sell a bunch of artwork that students have made, and everyone who works there is a past student from the school. So 2 of our students actually had their placement there, and I know that they really, really, really enjoyed it, and I really, really enjoyed listening about it, like hearing about it from them. It sounded super, super cool, and I loved going to Baobab. So.
But even if you're not working there, go and get the tofu chicken sandwich, garlic sandwich. It's amazing. It's like one of the best tofu foods I've ever had. And now we're going to talk about Tamale, which is the November. So Cape Coast is September, October, and then the last part of the first semester, November, will be in Tamale in the northern region. So now we'll kind of discuss like the courses as well as accommodation and social life.
So Tamale, it's just one course that you take while you're in Tamale, and it's with Professor Coleman, who is an exceptional professor. He is incredible, and you will hear students from every year that this has run who have had him like just absolutely rave about him. And we are also 2 of those students now. Yeah. He is so welcoming and so friendly. He picked me up from the airport, and he was driving me back to where we were staying, and he was just like, you can go here, you can go here. He's like, that's my house, you should come over for dinner this weekend. And just like was so friendly with everyone. He had a party at the end of us being in Tamale where he had everyone come over, and he had made us all dinner.
We should put a picture of that.
We should have put a picture of that in there. And the course that he teaches is really focuses on community-based research. So it's called Local Dynamics of Change. And in that you learn different research methods and different, like how to ethically conduct research specifically in communities. And with this, you actually have a field trip where you go into a community that Professor Coleman has a connection with and sets up. And you're able to actually practice what you've learned in your class. And then you present your findings to the class. You have like a project where you make a presentation and you write a paper on it. And that is the month that you spend in Tamale in terms of schoolwork. We stayed in Tick's guest house while we were in Tamale, which was super fun because it was kind of like first year living in Res again because we were all in the same place. So we'd go to school together, we'd go back and do our homework together under like the gazebo. We would we were just always together. Here it was like we bonded in Cape Coast, but like we bonded in Tamale because we were all, we were there. We were roommates. He would get annoyed because every night I'd be like, do you guys want to watch Netflix? I'd like knock on everyone's door.
Some of the doors didn't have locks, which was the problem with that.
I always knocked.
That's true. She knocked and then didn't wait for an answer.
And then some of the fun trips that you can do is there's Contampo Waterfall, which I think only Gabby actually did it in our year. So that's a picture that she has and took when she was there. But Ghana has like so many waterfalls all across the country, everywhere. Everywhere I went, I'd look up like things to do outside, waterfalls, waterfalls. There's so many there, and that one looks gorgeous, and it's near Tamale. All of us went to Mole National Park, which is kind of like a safari. Well, it is a safari. It's not kind of like a safari. It is a safari. So we all went there for like 2 days, and they have elephants, hyenas, alligators, like all types of different birds, warthogs, just a bunch of really cool animals that you can see. It was fun just kind of getting away for the weekend and hanging out together. And then that is a picture of in front of our guest house. So it was behind this wall, and then that little sign says Ticks. But yeah, it was very fun. There was we didn't go to it because I don't think it was open the year we were there, but the year before there was like a rooftop bar right next door. So if you guys stay there might be a rooftop bar literally 2 feet away from you.
Didn't you go to waterfalls as well on your Volta trip?
I went to a waterfall in Volta region. It's the tallest waterfall in Ghana, and it was awesome. It was like a mountain hike. It was super, super fun. Volta region is gorgeous.
Yeah, a lot of people recommend Volta traveling. So if you have any questions, definitely ask her because I think you were the only one who heard people.
I did. It was my favorite part of Ghana. Volta region is fabulous. I recommend going there if you go.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then placements. So if you get the month of December off, and then you where you either come home, or if you decide to stay for the second part, you get a placement. So my placement, which my roommate also had the same placement as me, was the Ghana Refugee Board, which is a UN entity that works, is like the primary organization that works with asylum seekers and refugees in Ghana. And it was just a really amazing experience. I don't think I've ever had a work experience like the experience that I've had there. It was in the office in the capital, so Accra of Ghana. But every day, like despite it being an office, it was very hands-on. Like every day we would be speaking and talking to different asylum seekers and refugees. And we ended up using a lot of the methods that we learned in Mr. Coleman's class, helping us with our final paper that we write for the end of the year, which is on your placement.
My placement was with a social enterprise, so like basically a startup that was focused on recycling plastic waste and like building a circular economy. And yeah, same, every day was different. Sometimes I would just be writing grant applications. Sometimes I'd be going to factories to do waste pickups of plastic waste and bringing it back. Sometimes I would be meeting with embassy members to, discuss projects. Sometimes I would be pitching our school program to schools. So it was different thing every day, really a lot of experience. That was my highlight of my whole year for sure, was my internship. But I think that is all. Madase, thank you for listening.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or say them aloud.
There's the Zoom.
That was great.
Thank you.
Okay, so Kirsten, how should we do it given that we're so small? Should we just do one breakout group? Okay. Okay, are you guys on there? Oh, okay.
I can turn the camera too, if we want it to face the group.
Okay. Okay, let me do that. And then,
What do you want? Maybe what if we came down so that everybody's looking at one another?
Sure. Okay. Why don't you do that? Why don't you guys just kind of assemble so just so I know, you guys you're interested in going, right? Yeah. Okay. And are you guys returning or interested in going? Oh, you're most welcome. Please come down here. Okay. So, okay. Oops. Okay, and so do we still have the participants abroad? Okay.
They can still hear us, although we are sharing, so let me stop the sharing.
Okay, why don't we stop the share?
There you go.
Okay, and then so how if or if they have a question, then we can just get them to.
They can just maybe just unmic would be best.
Oh, okay.
Just sort of like shout at us, right?
Okay, so so typically, just to let you know, the way this usually works is often when we do this, I leave the room so you guys can talk very freely about all aspects of the program, the good, the bad, the ugly, what have you. Bye, Dana. And so our those of you who have tuned on or tuned in from elsewhere, so I see there's a couple from Dal, Nora and Anton. Welcome, welcome. We have a number of Dal students there right now in Ghana. And Sahara from UBC, so welcome. And Kaylin, too. Okay, so so please feel free, if you have any specific questions about any of this, why don't you just unmute yourself and just blurt it right out. Just ask, and the students will be very well equipped to answer you directly. We have a number of topics that we can kick it off with, and typically some of them have to do with safety, security, issues related to gender and social relationships, and things like that, and health, food, and stuff like that. But why don't we, before we kind of begin on a few topics, if anyone has any follow-up questions from what was just said, please feel free. Now's the time to ask anyone. Please.
One of the questions I have is based on does it apply to this program?
Yes. So the short answer is yes, and because you're actually a Trent University student and you're taking Trent University courses. So all OSAP, and even if you don't even touch the OSAP money, still get it because then you're eligible for all kinds of bursaries. Okay, you get extra money. So short answer, yes. All right.
I think Bolivia, the questions yet, they did come to the info session last year as well. But I see that meeting was being recorded.
Yes.
Because I know a few first years that just had classes during this time.
Yes, exactly. We're gonna put it up on our YouTube channel. We share it. Yeah.
So I'll be sure to put that on my
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. So does anybody have anything they want to ask professors before we vacate the room, or at least before I go? Please. Yeah. Oh, welcome.
I don't have any credits.
Let's talk. Email me, okay? Because we are very flexible, so there are ways to get this done. But we can talk, okay? So do you have my email?
No.
Oh, okay.
I will put that back up.
Yeah. Okay. So and this goes as well to oh, let me do this. Students who are zooming in, please do email Kirsten or myself if there's any or Martin, if there are any questions at all about this. Oh, is there a question in the chat? Because then the difficulty level is me actually accessing the chat, which is probably beyond my capabilities.
Yes, Nora, we do. So they'll be in the guide. But essentially, you're going to start January 6th, and then it'll be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 weeks after that. I don't have the exact end date yet, but January 6th start, and I can get you that end date. But it's the first week, typically it's the first week of April.
Sorry, can I just ask a question?
Sure, Caleb. Sure, go ahead, Caleb.
Okay, thank you. It's about the Trent in Bolivia program. But I just wanted to ask, for student visas, I remember asking Kirsten about this, but I did just want to make sure for the Trent in Bolivia program, it's exactly 90 days, right? So we don't need to apply for a student visa, right?
Caleb, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
He's
Really.
asking about the visa, is it
Oh.
90 days?
Yeah, 90-day visa, automatic, no applications.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So why don't we vote, and maybe you guys can kick it off. I think one of the first questions is safety, security, gender-related stuff. So maybe both Bolivia and Ghana, you can kick off with a few remarks about that, and then others, if you have questions, just then I chime in, and go for as long as you want. Okay, so you're good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I'll get that.
You want to start?
I know one of the questions I had going to Ghana was how like what would happen if I'm allergic to peanuts. They eat a lot of peanuts there, so kind of like had to go to the hospital. So kind of how would that be? So lots of questions you guys could ask. We asked about medications, vaccines, accessibility of whatever you would do right there. Access to health in Ghana. Well, it was actually
Could you repeat the question a little louder?
access to the healthcare in Ghana. It was actually really, really good for me. I had anaphylaxis 3 times, and every time I was able to go to the hospital very easily. They were able to inject me with epinephrine and clearly I'm still here, so that was great. But there's actually a hospital on campus, so that was like literally down the street from my house, so that was really, really, really good. And you get insurance through the school, I believe.
Yeah, VIP. Do they still doing VIP insurance?
Yeah, it's still covered.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, it's all cool. Okay, bye everybody.
Yeah.
So you would just go and they would charge you, and then you would just send your receipts back. And but for medications, what I did is I went to my doctor beforehand and I told them that I was leaving and I would need medication. So I got a surplus of every medication that I had before going. So I would not run out while I was there.
But you'll be talking to your doctors about vaccines anyways, because I need to get a bunch of travel vaccines.
Yeah, a lot of vaccines.
Yeah.
A lot of vaccines.
No, not like 6.
I got like all of them.
Yeah, there was like 6. Maybe. I don't know.
And then like a drink.
Yeah, the colder one.
It's
Oh.
bad. It tastes really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say like access to doctor safety, security, that kind of stuff was very similar to Bolivia. I don't think anyone had anything where we actually went to a doctor, but we did have medications and prescriptions. If you have like a medication that you take, like when I went, I also just got the surplus because they might have something comparable, but it might be different and you don't know, and you want to make sure that you have like what your body needs to. So I also just surplus my medication, which was really easy to do, and my insurance was like, yes, that's good. I was worried about. Yeah, but I don't think anyone would push me to go to the doctor for anything. However, it is covered also through grant tax.
My experience with Bolivia with the healthcare system was me fighting off my host family to not bring me to the doctor. I feel like a lot of the time I was like, I have the flu, and they're like, we will bring you to the doctor every day. And I was like, I just have the flu, just let me be sick.
Because we like offered host calls.
Yes.
The doctors just like, we'll bring her here.
So it was very like, they were very willing for us to go to the hospital. And we were like, nope.
Yeah, they have very accessible healthcare. Also, like random things I was worried about, like dentists, that kind of stuff, like for those. Also,
I go walking in the road. Yeah, 1,000%. I am like a very timid traveler. I get scared when I have to go alone and I don't know how to use it ever. So I found that I was most comfortable walking around with other people. It just made me feel like a little bit more confident with my experience. And then if anything did happen, like I did have this one situation where I was in a taxi and he didn't want me to get out of the taxi, so he giving me his number. Very harmless. So I giving my number to him, but like it wasn't that deep, but I just felt better like being in a group because he wasn't someone to turn to. But I actually got married, or like you have friends and you have support. But I would say just in general walking around was totally fine. The bus system was totally good. Buses were really funny. They don't have a map on where they go. They just kind of come and go, which is fun. Yeah.
I feel like the other thing is just to expect to get sick at some point, just like expect to with different food, there's different germs.
Yeah.
You're gonna get sick and you're gonna be fine. It's gonna be funny in here.
It honestly got some pretty intense food poisoning from one of our trips, and I threw up on myself and fell into it. And you know what? It's funny now. I think it's quite hilarious. And in the moment, I knew like there's doctor successful, there's medication successful. I also came with like a walking pharmacy. I had so many pills with me that I could have bought there, which would have been fun. But I was like, I've got Pepto, I've got Imodium, like I'm covered, and you're still gonna get and it was okay.
Yeah, I would say bring over-the-counter medication with you. In Ghana, you'll be able to get it there, but have some for when you get there until you know how to get it. Because like it could be first day, you could get something. So just have some like upon arrival. But everything, I ran out of like so many of the medications, like Tylenol and just like that kind of stuff. And just, once you know the stores to buy from, you're fine. But just maybe have some like for upon arrival. Yeah.
For safety in Ghana, I never felt unsafe in Ghana. I also don't put myself in situations where I would feel unsafe. So.
Yeah, it's like everything.
As you will, like I wouldn't walk around at night here, and I also didn't like walk around in the middle of the night in Ghana as well by myself.
Yeah.
So like we'd go out at night,
Yeah.
and it was fun. It was there is like a lot of like specifically for like the ladies, a lot of male attention. I did get
Just make sure my
proposed to
water
a couple times. And stuff like that, but I would just kind of like laugh it off and like every interaction I had was just kind of like harmless fun. I'd just be like, I can't marry you, I'm too young. How old are you? I'm like, I'm 21. Like, that's not that young. Like, my mom was so upset, I leave, I come back, husband, everything I do, like I can't do it. And then she's like, oh, okay. But yeah, I always felt safe. Otherwise, don't swim.
Yeah.
That was like something we were told not to do.
Don't swim in the ocean.
Yeah, don't swim in the ocean. They have pools and stuff, and they have parts of the ocean that you can go to and you can like surf. But like in Cape Coast, like we were told before going not to swim, and then we got there and like our host was like, don't swim, no one swims because it's very rocky and
choppy. You'll be taken out. You'll be swept out if you swim in Cape Coast. Boussois. I went surfing in Boussois, which is like eastern region. The water's a lot more calm there. You can go right into the ocean. And then obviously, of course, like still bodies of water, but just because of like parasites and that stuff. But any moving body of water, what?
I said alligators.
That's who, yeah.
Me and Ben and Harper went. We like snuck into the safari like after the safari because it was like down a hill from where we were staying. It was like let's just walk down the hill, and we were like, oh, it's so fun. Whatever. There's a nice body of water there between the sunset pictures. I have a picture of me like literally 5 feet away from this body of water. We went on a night safari. That night, we drove by that body of water. There's alligators.
They're not gonna do anything.
Like, oh my god.
No. Oh yeah, baboons too. Look out for the baboons. I had to wrestle my bag away from a baboon. They're strong and vicious. Just if you go to Mole, do not bring food.
They tell you that actually. Approximately 3 minutes after they said don't bring food outside, Taylor opens the
It was not 3 minutes after. It was like 2 steps away from my room. So I was like, no, and I looked around and there was no baboons.
20 steps away.
There was no baboons around. I opened my backpack and it's galloping around the corner and it like grabs onto my bag and I had to tug it away.
David wasn't going to wrestle it. David came.
No. I wrestled it. Okay, I was losing, but I was still wrestling it. But David did save me. He yelled at it and it ran away. But yeah, so just watch out for that. But still go to Mole for sure. Bye.
They also have hippos if you go even more north.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like my favorite.
Yeah, like with the alligators and stuff.
Yeah, the alligator. You didn't go to the alligator. You didn't go to the alligator sanctuary, did you?
No.
That was just David and Gabby?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, lots of cool stuff to do. Yeah. Any questions so far? Any questions from Zoom?
Just like general life experiences. Honestly, I was not homesick at all, which sounds bad. But like I like wasn't like I was homesick before I left. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss my family. But there was just like I feel like it was like I was constantly stimulated while I was there, and there was so much to like I didn't have time.
There are instances where you'll get homesick. Like
I'm sure there were moments. My sister gave birth while I was there. I was like, oh man, I miss the baby.
The only instance of homesickness I can remember is Christmas. Christmas because it was so we have a month off in winter for December, and like you do whatever you want. I met some of my friends in Greece. She went to Tanzania. So, but I got back like on like the 23rd of December, and then so I was like alone in the guest house and like calling FaceTiming my family on Christmas just alone. So like I got kind of homesick then, but like it's bound to happen.
So really depends. Really, really attached to my family. So I was homesick before I left. I was homesick when I got there. I really was missing them. And there was just one day where I came downstairs and I was trying to have my breakfast, and then I was like eating it and crying, and my host mom was like, "What is happening?" And I didn't speak enough Spanish. It's my mom. And then when she finally kind of connected it, she's like, "Oh," and she gave me a big hug, and it's like it's really hard because I missed my own family, but I also knew I was doing something that like I thought was brave. Like I was proud of myself for being able to do something hard. And also there's so many supports there for you. Like obviously both of your people, you get really close with the people, but also like in Bolivia on the ground, and I'm sure in Ghana as well, there's a social coordinator who you can always talk to if you're feeling really sad or you need resources or supports or anything like that. But I think Keely's right too. It is hard to be homesick when you're stimulated and doing so much fun stuff. So I found like if I had those moments where I got sad, like obviously I could call my mom, or I could go out to a cute cafe and get a little sweet treat and bring a good thing. I felt like I was ready to have that experience. I had traveled before this. I hadn't really left my family, so I was ready to go. I was like, okay, you're gonna go. You're gonna have a mental breakdown. You'll be okay, and I didn't. I very rarely. I think I remember one night maybe when I was homesick right at the beginning, and then very rarely after that did I ever feel like, oh, just because the experiences were. I think at the end of the day, like you're on an adventure, so like maybe you're gonna feel it a little bit, but there's too much exciting things that you're doing, and that's coming from someone who like again aggressively attached, like maybe unhealthy attached to my family. So
Feeling homesick isn't like bad.
no.
Doesn't mean you're not appreciating your trip. Doesn't mean that there's something wrong or like you're not showing gratitude or whatever. It's natural, and yeah, you can enjoy your trip and be homesick. Those are two things. How do you guys think that sorry, I was just gonna ask, how do you think the trip like helps you with feelings of homesick in the future? Like, do you think now you're more ready to travel and deal with homesickness?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm like planning trips. Like this summer I went back home from PEI with my sister. I'm so much more confident in my ability to do anything and traveling, and just like my confidence in myself is so much more than before the trip. I don't know if my homesickness would ever go away. I've done a lot of traveling before Bolivia, but I think what I did realize about myself is that I need like that like first couple of days or like those 2 weeks to just feel what I'm feeling, and then I know I can get through it and do it. But I think before going, I didn't recognize that like I was gonna feel sad and that it was gonna get better. I thought I was just gonna feel sad the whole time, even though I was excited to be there. But I think it has made me a lot more aware of myself, like what I need when I travel, and like traveling outside of my family. Also, it's just cool to be able to be like, yeah, I found that gate for the flight. Like, yeah, I got on a train. Like, you just feel like that weird confidence in yourself.
Are you heading up?
Yeah, I'm heading up.
No worries. Do you need any contact information before you go?
No, I think I'm good.
Sounds good. Thank you for coming. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Ella. And yes.
I was going to ask about because like if you're staying for a whole year in Canada, how is your Makes sense, like, it's like, you know how like in Trent you have the fall and you have
Yeah.
vacations and then.
In Ghana, you'll
It's
the,
kind of the same.
yeah, we
It's
got there
first
August.
semester, winter break off, and then second semester. And first semester split into 2 months in Cape Coast, 1 month in Tamale. So September, October, Cape Coast. November, Tamale. December, wherever you desire.
Yeah.
And then January to April, wherever you desire.
If I'm remembering correctly, we got there the 27th. We started classes first week of September. So those are the first 2 classes in Cape Coast. And then after that, those ended in October. And then so the last month of first semester is the Tamale course. And then your winter break, I think we started December 5th. It's my sister's birthday. So December 5th, we started our winter break and we got back. We started
We started on the 6th or the 7th.
Of January?
I flew back the day before and like run to get a bus. So I'm like, I'll be there on time.
Well, here's the thing. You're starting your internship in January, obviously, but like the day exactly, like it might vary based on like your internship, like when they tell you you're starting.
They'll tell you when. So they'll be like,
Yeah.
I can take a week off before we actually started our internship.
But basically a month winter break. Then early January you start your internship, and then you do your internship ends like very end of March or very beginning of April. Then you have about a week or 2 left in Ghana where you do the presentation on your internship and like the report on your internship. And then in that 2 weeks you'll be going back to Cape Coast for a couple days to present everything.
I don't know if they're doing that anymore.
Okay.
Or if they're presenting it somewhere else.
Okay, well then maybe not. Oh yeah, because Paul's not flying out there anymore.
He might not fly out there, so it depends if Paul's in town. But yeah, so you write like a doink paper.
It's not that
Freaking huge.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
It's like 40 pages.
With index and like or appendix, that's not even that bad.
It's like over 40 pages.
It's like 30 pages
And
of
it's
writing.
like a smaller spacing between words, but it's easy. Which sounds it's not easy. Easy is not the right word to use, but it's honestly I found that like I struggle to write like 8-page papers, but that paper I did not struggle with the same intensity because like, you're writing all of that stuff that you're doing. Like you're just like, yeah, I did this and I did this. Like, you don't have to Google what you did. No, you're citing yourself. We do not have very big papers. Our courses were set up like a bit different than I think they're going to be set up for everyone there. But we mostly have like very small essays, personal reflections, like article reports, that kind of stuff. Just because I think we had a shorter time frame than you guys had.
And it was also a little bit more, it was shorter, and so it was a little more intense. And so every week we had either a midterm or a final paper,
Which they changed now.
They can change that for Ghana.
Bad choice. So now it's like a little bit more split up. But I found the school to be busy, but I think it's like manageable.
yeah, especially because your first month is just all Spanish, which is a very different type of learning than like doing theory.
Yeah, I felt like Bolivia was kind of like a nice break. Like you were still doing school for sure, but it kind of changes your brain and like what you're thinking about what you have to think about. So it was a different way of studying, and I felt like I was pretty burnt out. And then I went back to so work and
Yeah, the first 2 months of classes in Ghana, I will not lie, they're a lot of work. But like, it's 2 months. The stuff you learn too, very valuable information. In fact, like just like I know that we had a week on like Chinese foreign direct investment in Africa, and now one of our classmates wrote his undergrad thesis on it last year because he was interested in it, right? So, but it's a lot in the first 2 months. But like, you know, you do get some time off, and then once you get through those classes, dude, the rest of the trip is just, it's money. It's like, the course in Tamale is easier and more interesting in my opinion because it was like practical application. And then the internship is just like a once in a lifetime opportunity. It's great. So, yeah.
But yeah, the schooling is different. Like I know here, I need an extension. I can be like, hey Paul, please, one more day. Like, yeah, sure. You asked for an extension in Ghana? No. I literally like almost died. I had anaphylaxis. Just like I'm in the hospital. Like the papers due the next day at 9 a.m. I was like, please have like a little bit of an extension. They're like, no. And then they texted my roommate. We're like, can you help her? Which so like no extensions on that. But they do switch your grades over. So like
I don't know if they're doing that.
They
Have you
do
seen
that
the
in
grades?
Ghana.
Are they still doing it?
Yeah, they've always done it in Ghana. They'll grade your paper and they'll send the grades to Paul, and Paul will change the grades based on your history and like the grades that you typically get. They've never stopped doing that.
Okay, I was just wondering. I don't know. Well, we don't know actually because
No, I know.
we'll have to see on the.
Because that's something they added. That's the point.
Well, we'll have to see if they do it this year.
They're gonna do it.
Okay.
Stop questioning it. Are you talking?
Well, they didn't do that in Bolivia, did they?
No, Bolivia's not the same. You get, and they don't change them between the two universities. But it was really fun. I think Ghana, you guys were like getting the most marks of your lives. It sounded like the changes we didn't start off the same experience. I think the one thing we keep in mind is because you're a small group, there still has to be some sort of mark distribution so that everyone can do really well. Some people have to do that, like which is a little bit frustrating in the process because you might be getting good get, but you can always appeal if you're from feedback, or you can, I don't know. I feel like our relationship, like our professors, we would very frequently go, we can't write this essay, and they'd say, okay, have another week. So kind of, yeah. A lot of times we were able to negotiate, like one time we negotiated a 5,000 hour paper down to a 2,000 word paper, like an extra week.
Damn.
But I think like what's important to remember is that the profs are getting paid like implementing what presented in. So giving extensions means the profs get paid later, like that kind of stuff. So it's delicate to figure out between like here in Canada and negotiating, but like at the end of the day, everyone wants you to succeed. They want people to do well instead of these programs so that they can bring back how fabulous you are. So people are on your side. Well. But it's just like I think going to be for grades, I was really nervous about what they were going to be, and
Yeah. And for those of you whose grades are a very, very, very important contributor to their ego, you know, I'm like that, 100%. I'm very much like that. And what I definitely did not. I got good grades in Ghana. I was happy with them for sure, but they were lower, I would say. But really,
I got like
they actually
not way higher sounds weird, but like I got higher grades.
they didn't boost the Coleman class. Okay, well, what I'm saying we're talking about me here, Keely. Okay? What I'm saying is that what I noticed is that when I did get grades that were lower, it didn't hurt as much because I didn't need the grade in this instance to prove that I'd learned something. I already knew that I'd learned something. The value of what I was doing and like what I was learning was so obvious that the grade didn't kind of, but of course still try. You know, you get good grades in a year abroad, that's like grad school. Like grad school is like froth at the mouth for that stuff. So I think, yeah.
I think that is something to keep in mind. Like if you are applying to a grad school or say law program or something like that afterwards, I would really look at the requirements of those things before you go. Like I know some of the people who do programs swap their grades to pass fail instead of percentages. And if you wanted to apply to say law schools are like, here, what is that? So there is like considerations about like where you're going next and what you want to do, but overall doing a study abroad makes you a really competitive, fabulous applicant. So I feel like it's a trade-off, but you just have to know like where you want to go in life and what you do. Lots of forethought.
Does the Zoom call have any questions or anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, it's not a question. Sorry, Keely. No, it's not a question. It's really late here, so I'm gonna go to bed. But it was good to see you guys, and thank you for hosting this.
Yeah, great to see you again, Taylor. We miss you.
You too. Bye.
Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah, I know.
Any questions? Any concerns? Any concerns about traveling abroad or traveling in either of the two countries, just in general?
Honestly, a lot of questions are around safety. I have a friend in first year who's just sort of thinking about abroad programs in general, and they're very openly queer, they're gender diverse. So I know a little bit about countries, but like if you guys have anything to share about like safety in that aspect.
Yes. So
Ghana in general is the way that Philip, our academic coordinator, put it in our first meeting, is a homophobic country. But like every country, that does not mean everyone in it is homophobic. As with every country, there's also people in it who are gay and who are all over the spectrum of LGBTQ+, and we also have like a pretty long history of LGBTQ+ students coming on the trip. It's kind of like it's not something that is like openly talked about there, and it's something that like you have to be careful, I guess, like who you're talking to about it. But like there are like people there who are opening and accepting of LGBT people. Like I know when I was working with Ghana refugee board, I asked a question, just like if there was like a person who was forced to flee their country and was gay, like what, and they, because you don't really get, sometimes you don't get to choose where you go. And I was like, and I got security, what would happen? And my one coworker was like, well, and I was like, and also like you're not going there to teach, so I was just kind of like, okay. And then he left. My other coworker who was also gay was there, and he was like, yeah. But he's like, and he was like kind of being empathetic and was explaining that he was not homophobic. He was, it's actually one of the people we met that wrote their entire 40-page paper on LGBTQ+ issues in Ghana.
They also, at the time we were there, they were trying to
pass a bill to make it officially illegal.
I would say there are risks.
Yeah, but I don't know if the bill got passed or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm like, there's not that LGBTQ+ people are being hunted in the country, but I would say there's a risk, and also I was told that it has a different connotation if you're a foreigner, right? If you're a foreigner who is LGBTQ+, I was told like by Ghanaians that it's like, okay, like that's your country and your business, right? So it's like how they feel about their country and their culture. They don't want to see gay Ghanaians, I guess, is what I took from that. But I would say that is definitely not a reason not to go to Ghana, but it is something to consider, and we know several people who could probably be a good point of contact for that and give better advice than we could on it. Yeah, and like you said, Harper wrote a whole paper on it.
Yeah, Harper wrote on it. It's definitely it's a big conversation in Ghana, and I guess something that a lot of people ask me is like, it's like, because like I shave my head, and a lot of people are like, do they like have like there's like the stereotypes in America? They do not have those stereotypes. I've had people ask me this, they're like, just no, because like I'm me or whatever, and I'm like, no, they will not know. They might think you're like quirky, but they're not gonna think anything.
But you have like a lesbian haircut, no, they're not gonna think that.
I know, people thought I was Asian when I came. That's what everyone said. They're like, I'm Asian. And I was like, I don't think we have a lot of experience with Asian. Same kind of feel. It's not as we want to go. Bolivia and Sucre are very conservative places. Like, Sucre was. I think they look like the people's in church, a lot of people have very Catholic belief systems, so a lot of people don't. Like, it's the same deal. It's like you're gonna find some people that are open to it, some people who aren't, some people who are just very confused by what is happening. But yeah, I feel like if you're gonna want into better resources, you could probably find something better. I just can't think of any.
It's not Canada. No, it's not the same as Canada. It also there was conversations I heard that were actually more open to and accepting than I thought. Like my host family had, and like talking about it, like raised one of their maids. A tricky dynamic, but when she's a lesbian. And it was like, okay,
how's it going?
Kind of supportive.
What's up?
So yeah, I feel like it's not Canada, but there's definitely it's not a reason not to go. It's just a conversation happening.
I also think there are some gender diverse people who are thinking about going, and maybe.
I appreciate it. If there's some really good conversations, last year, I just wanted to hear.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, there's heavy Christian values in a lot of Ghana, but one of my coworkers actually was talking to him about. I wanted to ask him. I was like asking. I wanted to see what his personal thoughts were on LGBTQ plus rights in Ghana, and he even said he had a friend that was trans, and he's like, as a Christian, I think it's wrong, but as another person, I think, like why should I tell them as a like just because in my Christian beliefs, I think it's wrong. That doesn't mean, So it's like, there's that understanding too of like not like, that people vary. So yeah, but of course that doesn't speak for everybody, and it is something to at least consider.
Like an LGBT group in
Yeah.
I think it's just not really for minorities. I know there's like not just women, and there's little racism. Like they have like a lot on their plate that is like kind of like one of those social issues. So I feel like LGBT to be brought up or recognized, like it's not. I think it's more of a understanding type thing. Especially Black boys.
And at the same time, like I think very rarely, like it's just because like they are not accepting doesn't mean that like they're gonna pry that part of your personality out of you and make you admit it, right? Like so, it's like I don't want to sound like one of those dicks that say like don't shove it down my throats, but like it's like in those situations, it's like there's you got to think about like how are you advertising yourself, and if maybe there are times where you do have to like mask certain parts of your identity for safety reasons. That is a risk on the trip, I would say, but generally I don't think it poses danger.
I have monkeys, which is so cool. We lived in like behind, like in the backyard, we have like a forest, and you could just like see monkeys swinging through the trees. They hop on the roof and they go like, oh, so there was like monkeys in our backyard and kittens. They had kittens like right when we arrived. It was super fun. We shared a bedroom, me and Michaela, and I think we were the only ones who had a double bed in Cape Coast, which was super fun. But we were also the only ones that didn't have a fan in our room.
You're talking about Tamale?
Not super fun.
Are you talking about Tamale?
No, Cape Coast. We also were the only ones who didn't have a fan in Tamale. We even have a fan from first semester. It was tough. Everyone else did, so don't worry about that, honestly. But yeah, they had like a living room. Our family also had a laundry machine, but it kind of worked funny. So
I did hand laundry the entire year. Except for when I was younger.
I still did too, but honestly, the laundry machine didn't work very well. But and then they had like a kitchen. They had like a big freezer. They'd make us food all the time, and then they had like a fire oven. I hated the ovens because they were so scary to me because I hate fire because I'm scared.
Oh yeah.
You have to put on the lighter and like then it goes and you're like okay. Like everyone else can do it. I couldn't.
Did you not have one of those when you were like a kid? That's like how my barbecue works.
I didn't barbecue when I was a kid. But anyway, so they had that, they had a bathroom, we had two bathrooms, so 2 bathrooms, and then like other rooms that like they slept in and did stuff in that I didn't really go in. Like if we were hanging out, we were hanging out in the family room, and then like the rooms were kind of but yeah, so that like that was, and then in Tamale, we again shared a room, and then there was a bathroom and like a couple of closets and stuff. It was very dorm style. Like that was like all that we had, and then we had like a big kitchen where everyone shared like the kitchen space and like the eating space.
Yeah. In a separate building from the rooms.
And then it's up to you second semester because it all depends where you're going to be and stuff. Like it's up to you to find your own housing for your placement. So yeah, I went to Accra, the capital, and so did Taylor. He didn't want to live with us, but then
Thank God that I didn't.
Taylor wanted to live with us. And honestly, be careful where you get an Airbnb because our Airbnb.
That was nothing to do with the Airbnb. That was just that was bad luck. Like that wasn't just your Airbnb. It must have been other places on your street.
We didn't have water for like a month.
I must have been other buildings.
So we had to like bathe in like water sachets. Like a full bed of water, we would bathe. That's how we flush our toilet. That's how we would like do everything. We stank.
Yeah. You guys were disgusting. So gross.
Okay, but I was
Oh my goodness.
disgusting.
Okay, yeah. That was.
Yeah, it was pretty.
I almost like bought that guy deodorant and drove it to him and like threw it at him.
Honestly, like the houses were great. We had like bucket showers, which honestly I think are like better than other showers. I felt more clean after a bucket shower than I do like a shower. Yeah, that was fun. What else? What about you? You had an interesting housing situation.
My host family?
Yeah, like it was like
It was
literally
great.
an apartment building with
Oh no, it was like a house that he had built himself. Yeah, it kind of was like an apartment building. It was like a house that he had the bottom floor with a couple of guest rooms that we would stay in, me and the other two dudes that were there. And then he had like rooms up above that you rented out to Canadian students at UCC. But yeah, no, it was great. They had a dog and a bunch of cats too. And the dogs actually just had puppies when we were there. Oh my god, I have some videos I can show you of them like all in a cuddle puddle, like trying to stay warm, like cuddling and sleeping. It's awesome. But yeah, they had 4 kids. And we hung out with them, 3 sons and then a youngest daughter. All right, so we're just doing yeah. Yeah, sorry, here you go.
Oh no, I was just gonna say Bolivia was great. Yeah, the houses were very nice. We did get in our field trips, specifically to experience kind of what the rural, like living in a rural setting was like. So for that week, it was like a very different living experience, like very necessary, like a really good experience. So most of the time we were in very comfortable, very similar to Canada housing, but then for that period we were like.
I think we have like 20 minutes left. It was supposed to be 4 to 6, right? So I just want to make sure, like we can obviously talk till 6, but I just want to make sure, are there any other questions that we need to get out of the way? Perfect. Nora, do you have any questions? I can Nora's already. Yeah. Oh, another important point. I went to Keely's host family once, and I chilled in her room. Yeah, so I was chilling in her room. We're just like, obviously just two friends chilling in the room. But still, like in like, yeah, exactly. For like guys and girls to just be chilling on the bed, unless like, I guess, you're married, but, so just that's something to look out for. And it's like, she wasn't even trying to like insinuate anything by it. I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, you already shaved your head. Oh wait, you didn't shave your head at that point. So. Yeah, I know. I was just kidding. You look really good with a shaved head. It suited you. It suited you really well. Yeah. But yeah, she wasn't even trying to insinuate that we were doing anything, but cultural norms.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's because I accidentally unplugged the webcam. Okay, I guess that's it then. Eh?